Hey, welcome to LEAP, the League of Emergent Architectural Practitioners. I'm your host, Stephen Corliss. We are looking at an architectural design for a new construction home today. And if you've been following the series, we have gotten to the point where we have a first floor layout, a second floor layout, and we've been looking at just refining the design a little bit as we relate the exterior to the interior, some finishing touches on some of the kitchen design, and that's what this episode is primarily going to be about. We will get into exporting some renderings and setting up some design content for our presentation. Probably in the next episode, we'll have some of the final presentation content to showcase. But if you're interested in knowing how these views are set up, starting to do renderings, exporting the views for use in content purposes, this is going to be a good session for you. So let me just make sure everything's running smoothly here. And it looks like we are. So, like I mentioned, let's hop over to, I'll share my screen, some of the renderings that we're just starting to look at. So, lighting obviously is extremely important in architectural design. I just did a video on the kitchen layout. If you've been following this series, I sort of gapped over one video where it just takes a lot of time to do the nuances of the cabinet spacing, and that's not too exciting to really showcase or for you to watch. But if you are interested, look in the video series. It should be one of the more recent videos around the post time of this video. But if you have been following, the kitchen design is a linear kitchen, which basically means you've got a wall of utility, you've got the island. In some cases that could be like a galley style kitchen, but there's no L, there's no return, there's no U shape here. And for our purposes, this was just going to be best for the layout of this home. And I just started putting in some lighting. We knew that there was going to be an LED light at the underside of this soffit, just set off the fascia of that soffit. We've got our 30-inch countertop depths. I've got under cabinet lighting in, and we've got our pendants. I was just starting to lay out some recessed lighting and putting some lighting in the spaces that are just beyond, like the pantry and the mudroom over there. So let me hop back into the model and I'll go into my reflected ceiling plan view. And just wanted to mention real quick again, if you are tuned in, feel free to drop comments as we go. I'm constantly checking the chat just to see if there's anyone tuning in. And without further ado, I'm just going to start placing these down and sharing my thoughts as I go along. So one of the things that is good with a lighting layout design like this is usually it's nice to associate these lights with the cabinetry, the upper cabinetry or the sink location. Because we have this linear LED just running the full length of that, it's a bit easier to lay these lights out on a normalized grid where you don't have to make those associations so prominent. And so I was just copying these over, but I already centered these on these aisle widths, meaning the outside recessed lights there. And then I was just popping some down to get a decent width. We'll equalize those. They're all coming about to 4 feet. These are 4-inch recessed cans. And so those are going to be symmetrical on this space, or it should be this. What was this? 4'2". Okay, this one was 4, so it's very, very close. The only place you would maybe notice it being off is a perspective view like this, but we're talking, quarters of an inch. If you really wanted to, you can hold that exactly symmetrical. But for our purposes, I think we're going to have a view looking down here, which is going to be more important and prominent for the lighting to be centered on this aisle width than it is for the lighting to be centered on the entire room. So we got those over there. It's always nice to have one sort of centered on the island in that direction, and then I can just mirror over. I thought I saw something glitching over, but I think that was grabbing from a different center line or something. I'm just going to grab these lights again and mirror them over. Yeah, it looked like it was grabbing something from up above. So I've got my can lights, 4 are selected. I'm going to mirror them over, make sure it's copying this center point line here back into that aisle width. And usually for 4-inch cans, 4 feet is a good spacing. A lot of people are moving to 4-inch cans and having more of them. They're a little less visually invasive than the 6-inch cans that seem to be pretty large within the space. And then whatever this spacing was here, you could just continue that like through this hallway space. These look a little close together, probably too many. So I'll just take those and we'll recenter them through this hallway space. Because 4 feet is a good spacing, usually like 2 or 3 feet is going to be a good spacing off of the exterior wall. And because that's a 4-foot width, a 2-foot spacing off the wall feels appropriate. We do have the stairway here, so that's another good alignment point. I will say it gets difficult in open floor plans to lay out the lighting such that it's equal in every room. And so you have to start to make some choices about when to break those grids and restart the grids. Like for instance, here's a small pantry. Would it be nice for these lights to line up with the one just outside of the pantry? If for whatever reason you're standing outside, walking in, it's a nice continuation of the lighting. But most of the time that door will probably be closed, and so it's not an association we need to force. But this one, coming up and down the stairs, is important, and so I can say, we can break that, and it should be fine. Another thing to think about is room to room. So with this, I'm just going to see, as long as it's within the range of 4-foot spacing, we should be good. 4'7", stretching it a little bit, but for a hallway, you can definitely extend the spacing of those lighting. There's not much in there in terms of functionality you're going to need to see or do, so having it not so brightly lit isn't such a big requirement. It'll be lit just fine, but let's see, I'm just going to check on something here. Okay. Okay, so our rendering finished up, and so I'll share that just to see what that looks like. I'll share a couple of different versions of it in terms of lighting. This one had a much brighter earlier day, like just before afternoon sun lighting. I think I actually turned the lights off in this one also, just to see what the natural daylight looks like as it's coming into the space. There were some material changes I made to the cooktop from a black unit to a white unit. I noticed the countertop materials were different, so made them all just this white marble material. I put some lighting on inside the pantry, and then so this is that same daylight with the lights turned on. And then this is a different daylight with the lights turned on. So this is a later afternoon shot with the sun angle just beyond our view and set a little lower, 7 degrees above the horizon. This would be like a late afternoon shot, sunset. The sky isn't reflecting that, but I will put in a background image within Revit and I can show what that looks like. But I'm liking this lighting a lot more than the daylight. I think it's just a little moodier. It's probably a little more realistic in terms of times of days that most people in the home would be utilizing this space, like during dinner, the kids coming home after school, people coming home after work. So it's a more familiar daylight to see in a space like this. Although this one is certainly common as well. You can also set both and do a time lapse between the two. There's a lot of great tools and I can showcase some of that. But anyway, this is just a good gauge. We put in a few more lights, and so I'll probably do some more test renders as we move along. Something I was toying with was this window running full width. You're getting into some very custom territory there, and also just lining it up with cabinetry in the interior I know is going to be not the easiest for the kind of next set of like construction that we're going to have for these projects. So we want to keep these details not so custom that it makes it difficult for any builder to come and adapt to. So anyway, this is looking good so far. Let's dive back in and just keep making some tweaks here. I won't even get into putting lighting in the bathroom for now. Once we get to construction documents, obviously all that has to be specified, but really I'm just focusing on lighting that's going to be seen in the animation that we'll be doing for this. So I'm looking at this now. I grabbed these 3 lights. I'm just going to copy these down. Should have also been a 4-foot aisle width, so that should already be centered. And for consistency there, it would be nice like that those translate through. I'm seeing now that these are falling just off center, and so pulling this one away from the wall such that it gets us in alignment would be nice on this scheme. So I can find the center point there, make sure that our doorway is centered on it there, which it was. And then this is kind of a subtraction. That's a tricky one, actually. This is like a math puzzle. It's like, what distance does this need to be away from the wall such that it's equal here and the spacing would be equal there. So one way to, I think, do that is actually just lay down these lines and use our annotate tool to, we'll hold on this and then we'll snap to these lines. And then simultaneously we will snap to this line, and this line, and we'll say equal, no. So these always get tricky when, like if I do this as equal, I know that will move. And if I move this in, I press this as equal again, that will move with it. But I want these also to be equal, but I don't want that to shift. I don't know. Honestly, this is getting something that I'll have to do offline. I don't want to waste everyone's time looking at that. I'm not sure if it's that critical. I mean, I do think actually it is important, but I put a lot of constraints on this already. I'm thinking it would actually just be something that you kind of link to the 3 lights and do as equal. And then I start scooching this in, I can see where that equal sign aligns with the center of that. And I mean, that's not extremely precise, but it is more accurate than it was. And then I think, you know, for ease of purposes of guiding the electrician, you know, like 2'6", that's a good solid dimension. It's probably something like, oh, that's 2'6", right out of the money. Sometimes when you nudge things, it keeps on the inch or fractional inches, and sometimes it goes completely like straight. So that worked out for us. But anyway, now we would be taking this light here and this light and aligning it, and the same thing with this one, with this one. So those should be aligned on that opening, which is optional. And don't know why I'm just wanting to double check that again. It was 4'4.5", which is good. And this is going to be centered on that doorway. So there was just something I was watching, forgetting his name, an interior space planner who does these great videos of correcting floor plans, and 90% of the time all he's doing is aligning or purposely misaligning things to create either harmony or breaks in a floor plan. And I commented on his video and just said, you know, that's basically what architecture is about, is aligning things. Obviously there's a lot of additional information you need to be aware of, savvy of, one of which being like actual construction techniques and tolerances. But lining things up is like a huge part of the battle. So this door was like centered on that space, which was nice. And now I'm looking at this and realizing that that's totally off, which might be okay, because some of this, all of these walls were going to be optional for the homeowner to select to put into their project. Speaking of that, while I'm remembering it, I'm just going to pull this wall out and make this wall disallowed to join. But I was looking at this and just questioning whether or not we should have kept like the same depth here for over here for this opening. But I don't think that that's necessary right now. So this is a live view that I can move around in and just look at sort of at the kitchen, how this all ended up. I think it looks great. Pantry being across there, I think is fine. You know, you can go in, get what you need, put it on the countertop here, start your work session for cooking. And then moving through the space this way now. Lighting is centered on this hallway. That feels nice. You know, if you're moving through this way, you've got the powder room to the left there. You've got this large window at the end of the hallway. You've got a flexible space here. I've got it set up currently as a work from home office, but it could be the dining room, it could be a formal sitting area, it could be a playroom for kids or adults. We do have a large foyer, which we wanted to save and take a sip of coffee. And you know, like, I think I would like to recommend even like making that space sort of a breakout space, not just as a foyer, but that it can double. I don't know about you, but it is nice sometimes to sit in the foyer space. It almost feels like it is obviously your space that you own in your home, but you know, it's usually only accessed like when you're coming or going, but then I don't know, there's something nice about sitting in the foyer space that's just dedicated to kind of that activity when you're not doing that activity. There's something peaceful about it. So I think I'm going to try to encourage or promote that space is, you know, can be used like that. I think I was hoping for something a little more exciting, like at the end of this hallway. I think like walking in and turning and seeing a bookshelf is not ideal. And so I had like floor to ceiling windows, or just larger windows, and looking at it again, that's what I'm going to keep. I just don't like turning that corner and like walking into bookshelves here. The reality is, you know, they can put whatever they want there, but I think the issue also was like some privacy concerns. I'm just wondering what it looks like without any windows at all. And that's not bad either. And then this wall is going to be optional, so if you did walk in, you know, you would immediately feel a lot larger without that wall. But I'm going to start with it in. I'm just kind of not coming up with a good conclusion to the hallway here. And it could be an accent light, it could be a plant there, but natural daylight coming in would be really nice. And then I also don't actually think these windows are going to be like full height floor to ceiling windows, so I'll probably bring them up 12 inches off the ground. So if these are 96 right now, we can bring them down to 84. So I need a 36 by 84 black, and bring them 1 foot off the ground. That should match our head heights, but it gives us like a little bit of more realistic detail for the contractors to create some sills and flashing and water roofing, all the good stuff. And I don't think that'll affect our, I mean, that feels really nice to me now. That feels like bright, airy, something special when you turn the corner there. And I think likewise, this window that was off to this side here, I like the sill coming 1 foot up. I brought these up higher in case somebody did want to put like a credenza piece along the back wall there. This was a pretty deep desk. I'm going to make this back to like a 2 foot desk here. Okay, so where were we? We were doing the lighting, and I'm going to continue on that. Just want to make sure everything's running. Sometimes my camera turns off here. Let me know if you're tuned in, if you're listening, if there's anything you want me to focus on and look at. Be happy to divert my attention. There's a lot that needs to get done here. So I'm going to take this and just see where or how this spacing runs across the space here, and that's pretty good. It's almost perfect. Let's see if it is, for whatever reason. 1'8", so it's a little shy off of that wall, but I don't mind that. This is kind of a nooky space here. So is this, but like we mentioned up here, the hallway space, it doesn't need to be incredibly illuminated. But I think that can work out for the space there. I mean, let's just see how our alignment is working. The kitchen is usually a proper place to break alignments for lighting layouts. And I think if we do have a cased opening, it's really kind of its own element there. It wouldn't really make sense to put these lights any closer in this area. and we may even be able to get away with eliminating those lights. Let's jump in and take that next rendering with those lights on. So this, we have all the lights on in here now, and like I mentioned I was going to do, let's go to our view, our render. I've got interior, sun and artificial. You click that, it gives us our daylight, which I was happy with. I think we'll keep it like that. Yeah, let's keep it like that for now. Any lower and you're just going to get the sun coming deeper into the space. I have it set at 315, which is 45 degrees past 270. The house south is to the left, so if you're running all those like azimuths and altitude for the sun, that's what all of that means. I like to just control it on my own. It gives me a little more flexibility. If we are doing like realistic sun studies, if there's something very meaningful, then we use the real sun. But this is going to get us, 90% of the way there for some of these presentation content. I think this looks good. I like the way that light is kind of casting across that right facade or wall there. So let's just stick with this. And we'll say okay, and then our background is where you want to put the image in. So I'm going to do image, select an image. I have a folder here that has skies in it, and I'll just do view, extra large icons. I want to choose a sky that emulates that sunset effect. Maybe with some wispy clouds in there, something like that would probably work for this image pretty well. I think I like it. Let's go with it. And then the other thing to do is just elevate the image wherever you have it. I have all these set as 16 by 9, so it's ready for presentation content, especially video format. But I usually just have to eyeball like where the height of that horizon line is. And so in this one, it's like just below halfway in my image. So if I'm able to kind of describe that here, this is the 16 by 9, this is the full 9-inch height here. This is the green, is the grass in the background there, and I would say halfway is right about here. Let's see. Yeah, probably right here. So it's a little below halfway, so when I take my mouse about halfway on this image, it's about here. So I know I gotta raise this up just a couple notches to get me like a realistic horizon line there, 3 3/4. Let's try it, we can always adjust it. One other thing I wanted to mention, and I just want to make sure I've got the sky loaded in, interior, sun and artificial, so we're good to go there. These can lights, I have them set at 60 watts and a 5500K, which is giving us a bluer light in the space. I've noticed if I go anything really like less than 5000, it starts to make the space feel incredibly warm, almost tinted red and very yellow, and it's actually not too realistic in terms of the lighting scheme. So the Revit lighting, it's a little tricky. You kind of have to play to get it right. But I've found that the 5500K works really well in terms of like a daylight natural light, which is really more of like a 5000K, but I have to bump it up to 5500 just to get slightly cooler tones. So I want to run this, render in cloud, kitchen aisle, final, image size, medium. You can do large renderings on the cloud for free, so that's great. That gives us images that are great to share with clients during iterations of design, and then I usually bump it up to that next level, extra large, for like final presentation, final renderings. So while that's running, we've got the lighting in this area done. I don't even think I really thought too much about the height of this. Let's just look at like a section cut through here. So this section is cutting through the island. I'm going to make the clip plane no more than a foot so we don't see too much beyond. Helps us just see what's going on here. And I'm going to drop in. I have a component, detail component 2D. Got these peoples. And so I can see the height. What do I have this set at right now? It's 6 feet. I like the height. I mean, there's nothing really any higher. I think it'd be too high. You're getting the light in your face. I mean, she's right in like the middle of this walkway path right now, and I think the actual bulb of a light fixture like this would be tucked just above the sight line of the rim of that, meaning like you have to be sitting right at the island or underneath the island to see up and catch the bulb. And even then we would spec frosted bulbs, or these would be on dimmers anyway, but I think that height works. I'm just questioning everything because, you know, sometimes you put these things in the model and you forget to come back to them. So try to do everything like as you're placing it. That's just kind of a good tip. So for what it's worth, that's a section through the house here. It's not really too necessary for our purposes, but I'll leave it in just for fun. These were left over because I was looking at the spacing of the window. If again you want to see me design this kitchen, I posted a video about it, but man, I was toying with the spacing of this for a while. The window, the placement, and the size of the window. And I'll just do this just to show you like where it was. It looked not with the mullion where it's at, but just the idea of the window running full span across that space. It looked amazing. I mean, I really liked the idea of this being just all glass back there, but it's a big span. I think it's going to interrupt a lot of our framing, and it's going to add some cost, obviously, but I think it functions okay without it there. The problem was just where to conclude this. It felt funky. Bringing this halfway, landing in the middle of the cabinet, it felt funky. Bringing it just pulled tight to the edge of the sink cabinet because it felt a little crowded. It felt strange pulling it off the wall because there was some white space there. So in terms of framing and everything, I know that that's like achievable when the contractors are framing this in field. There's a hard edge wall and they can compensate for the drywall to space like a window like this, and they can get us, you know, relatively close to this edge, which is going to be like good for our purposes. And I think overall it felt balanced for this sort of asymmetric kitchen layout that we have here, with the refrigerator on one side, the hood and oven sort of shifted to one side, but also centered on the island. There's a lot of alignments, and you just have to kind of pick your priority levels here. But we'll see. That can be optional as well. If you can take it out and the kitchen still functions perfectly fine without it. Just thought it was kind of a nice feature to include in there right now. So render is done in this space, and you can see, whoa, my background is way too high, so that's okay, we'll fix that. But everything else is looking decent. I think the lighting is helping illuminate the space nicely, and then this is what I mean about like the yellowing of everything, especially with the daylight low. You can click on this post process tab here, and you can change this to vivid. You can change the color correction. You can drop the cooling point down, and I just like taking it all the way down and bringing it back up until I hit a point where yellow is too hot for me, and just kind of playing that game until you find where it looks pretty natural, and somewhere in here looks good. This is too warm. This is a touch too cool. So 55, 56. I think I say when in doubt, it's okay to just go like a touch warmer. Exposure value, we can bring this up just a hair. These controls are extremely sensitive, and usually I would control most of this in post-production, but if you're just kind of evaluating on site here while you're doing this in the program, it's just helpful to have these tools. Usually bumping up the saturation a hair gives you a slightly more realistic look, and that would probably prompt you to cool the image slightly and then brighten the image slightly. It's a whole game of back and forward, but that looks good. It'll take a second and re-render it for you, and that's where we're ending up. Just taking a look, and I think it looks good. I mean, the only thing I know I need to change is the window wall along the back. We're going to get like a sliding door package in there. So let's see. I'm going to take this another 20 minutes or so, but we'll just try and wrap up some of the design on the exterior, I think, as it relates to these interior spaces. So we were pulling these windows off the floor. It looks like I did that already for those. And I like these groupings of 3 windows. We have them in this office space here, and then we mirrored it over in the dining area there. Here we have that strip window that's running in the kitchen, and then on the back side, take a stave and a sip of coffee. On the back side, let's change this window. Was a window that was in the mudroom that, I don't know. I think we said we're not sure if we need to keep that or not. Let's go take a look in there. Also, just give us another opportunity to kind of walk through the space. So this is nice. You're greeted with this casual sitting area here. Turn, you've got the dining area here that's kind of doubling as your walk path to get you back through. The kitchen now looks great. You're going to walk behind here, past the pantry. We're going to put our door system in there. And as I turn, do I need this window here? It's definitely doing something funky with my door height. I don't like that. We already have this set at 7 feet over our 6'8" option, so that's I mean, I'm not liking that jogging effect, and I don't know if I would want to lower the head height of that. So let's see how it feels if I just eliminate that. It feels cramped and small and dark. So if I'm sitting on the bench and I'm turned around, we do have a lot of daylight coming in those windows there. We've got a lot of wall space behind us for coats and hooks and things like that. And I think it's always important to remember to balance things. We're trying to do this house, designed as a very cost-effective house. Simple gestures, kind of minimal in a lot of ways. And so I almost think we can afford some blank wall space there. A little bit of privacy too. It doesn't need to be a moment that has like too much visibility to the exterior. And even that door, if the door is a glass door and it's frosted or not, you're going to get daylight coming in there, and then immediately afterwards you've got this large glass door system that's leading to the exterior, and that's going to get you a lot of daylight that would kind of emanate through that space. So I'm going to make the decision to omit it for now. And while I'm here, remember to do the same thing to this window on the second floor. On the second floor, it's going to start with 8-foot ceilings, but they can slope up. But with a 1-foot offset there, I'm going to need a 72-inch window instead of the 84. So let's see if I have a 36 by 72. I do. That's going to look a little more practical. I'm just going to eliminate these. I don't want that to confuse me. That's that is the washer dryer room upstairs and utility room. We don't need that much daylight in there. We do want some daylight, but I think we can see if we can like copy a window like this over into that area and align it a little more with the washer dryer, which you can actually see through the window there. And then I'll have to put this door system in there here because I think it's starting to affect how we're looking at this. I know these are two different heights here. This is looking pretty odd over here, but we'll get into, I think these were still the framed windows. I gotta swap them out for the frameless. Let's just take them out completely for now. We'll start from scratch. Seeing this, I think I've got this elevated just enough so we can have like a sill along the back edge. Electrical outlets, if you're concerned about that, we've got one that's going to serve the countertop. We can embed on the wall on this side. That's going to service this area here. Let's see, is it less than 24 inches? I got to double check. I'm not sure if we need one here. I definitely know we will need one here, but I know we can get away with putting the wall, one on the side wall here to the kitchen sink. And so technically this sill height of this window could be at or just above the countertop height. But in looking at this, I would want to probably make sure that these windows align with that or are very close. So that'll be a detail probably during construction documents. Another thing is we've got like 3 different sill heights happening here, which I don't know if you'll ever really assess, when you're walking by a house. This one being 2 feet is really a 2-foot sill height. It's just to give us kind of that main feature window look that we were going for. And then same thing with these. I think they did change these windows. So let's hop up to the second floor and actually take a look at our elevation here. so that I can align this window wherever that lines upstairs. We'll take a look now. 2. Got this section cutting through here. That's my side table there. Here, these are the windows that are going to be above the ones downstairs for the kitchen. This one, you know, that might be all the daylight we need to get in a space like that. Let's see. You just have to remember, you know, you can't go like window crazy. You gotta balance the cost and the construction. So I think I'm gonna get up into the hallway space here for the second floor. And this is what this is looking like from the hallway. We have this window at the end of the hallway, which is nice. We've got lofted ceiling, so we could go higher, but we'll see how that works out. I think I might need some of this hallway head height for transferring some HVAC ducts. So we're going to leave that 8 foot. I got to put that 8 foot ceiling in there, but this is nice. This is fine. And then turning this corner to go into this laundry room. It looks a little barren. We've got the water heater and the furnace in this room also. We can partition that off, but I don't know. This is feeling like it needs to be dressed up a little bit. I think one window in the corner isn't going to really give us a happy space here. I mean, realistically, we've got, I would probably propose for this to be like a stackable. So I've got this as a component there, and then some storage and countertop space there for folding. So, you know, if you're in this space, when you walk into a long narrow space, it's nice to see a window at the end of that kind of hallway or corridor space. So let's, but I never really like putting like windows corner to corner like this. Let's just see how it does feel before we rule it out. You know, structurally, you know, it makes it sort of a weak corner there also that I don't like. I like this alignment because if we wanted to do something with the materials, like you can do something all the way up. But again, you kind of have to put the ego aside and try to balance everything. You know, what's more important here? Is it going to be the daylight, or is it going to be an exterior treatment? I mean, I think also the other thing to consider is instead of like walking past all of this, we could move this to the front side and shift the utility stuff to the back and sort of wall it off. I know the other like option is to kind of like pull this across, put the door here, and then make this entire room sort of more of a grander laundry room, and then really segment the utility room from that. But I liked the idea of having this window at the end of the corridor, at the end of the hallway. It's already with an interior stair like this. I was going to propose at least 1 or 2 skylights throughout here that would look really nice, illuminating like the entire hallway space. Especially if we didn't have the window, I would really push for that. But I think still, what is this, like 3 by 4 or 5? I mean, it's 15 square feet. It's a lot of square footage that is being dedicated to corridor space, but you have to balance that. You have to make those decisions in terms of psychologically what's more beneficial. And I just think every time I would choose to dedicate that space to allowing a window to be at the end of a hall versus capturing it. Now, if we get in a crunch where, you know, we really need that, then it's an easy swap to pull that wall across, eliminate the window, and propose the 2 skylights. But let's start like this because it's more of an architectural kind of look, feeling. And I'll put this stuff in a back closet here. I can eliminate this corner window that I don't want. We don't really need a window there anymore, so maybe we can just delete that. And instead of doing that, you can do something like that. You can flip this out. You can make it a double door. So that it's accessible. Which we will do. We're just going to make this like a bifold door situation for this closet back here, just to enclose it. What's the depth? 6 feet, so I can do 3 foot on each. $36 by 84. And that. Find the center line here. I'm just trying to remember this wall. It's our wet wall from downstairs for the powder room and the mud room if you would choose to have a utility sink in the mud room. It's not necessary, but people with pets or that do a lot of outdoor activities might be worth it. Save and take a sip of coffee. So now we've got our utilities in a closet, a lot of head height space above there so that the utilities can come up over a space like this that won't need more than 8-foot ceilings into our hallway to feed everything. Find a chase space to come down, which would likely be on either side of the stair. Well, so you can actually feed this side before you got to that side of the stair, and then feed the other side after you get to the side of the stair and come down to service the first floor. Sort of a long run, but the house is no more than 45 feet, so it's still within the bounds of acceptable. So we're going to push this back. I mean, realistically, we'll just preserve 3 feet of space in this utility closet. Realistically, because you can open the door, it's like you have plenty of space to work around these things, these pieces of equipment. But that feels better already in terms of prioritizing something like the washer dryer. And I'm just going to put it here, pull it off the wall 3 inches. We'll do a recessed dryer vent in the wall so we won't have that duct coming from the back of the dryer vent and taking up a bunch of space. Pull it an inch off the wall is what most units require. That's a double height unit. And then I'm just going to copy this window now into this space and see how that feels and look at some alignments on the exterior. And I'm going to delete this one for now also. Is this we'll just keep it. There's really no reason for these to be like floor to ceiling, or I keep saying floor to ceiling, but I mean this is a 6 foot tall and it's set 1 foot up off of the floor, so 1 foot sill height. But I mean that feels okay. And then looking just in terms of like the grouping, you know, and then if you took like this dimension, halved it. There's my halfway point on that line. I don't know because it's grabbing other things. Is that it? 4 foot 10, 4 foot 10. I don't really think that that's halfway because we're gonna adjust that still, but just for kind of temporal purposes, is that a good alignment? Does it get us good? You know, I think if these lights are offset the same distance from the door and the window, and you know, then that one would be we would have to make equidistant. It's a foot change. Foot change. That feels okay. I wasn't even looking at that window, so I'm removing it now. That feels purposeful, feels intentional. But before we move any further, I want to get this door situation figured out at the base here. We just make sure everything's running smoothly here. Looks like everything's okay. So again, if you've got any comments you want to chime in, feel free. Switch back to my Revit model here. Okay, let's get the door situated here. So with the door systems, they're always a little goofy. I end up using like window wall systems most of the time for these. Because it's likely that this is going to be a sliding door package. Let's see. It's 10 feet. I think initially I was trying to hold. Well, that's off, so I shouldn't have even had that centered. Okay. This should not have been centered on the center line of that. It should have been centered on this wall, so let's see how that changes things for us. Remove constraints, equal, 7'4" and a quarter. And then the lights I had centered on that opening, 2 foot and change, and then we'll do the same thing for this, 2 and 1/8. So that doesn't really change anything for us in the interior, except for that I always wanted to kind of center this stuff away from the wall a little bit. Looks like we can just get us there. So it's centered on that. just helps when you're taking renderings and aligning things and things do line up. It looks nice. But we did that to try and see if it makes any difference for our alignment of this back window here. I don't think it did. Most importantly, what was guiding us was this window upstairs. And again, really architecturally, what I would want to do is have a window that fits this width exactly. Now, not that the builder that we're working with can't achieve that, but this set of floor plans is going to be past and may transcend the builder that it's intended for, and so you want to make sure that you're leaving some like tolerance. So I am pulling that in a little bit. Otherwise, like I said, it would be beautiful to have like a wall-to-wall window that just had a clear view without any returns coming in obstructing your view. But anyway, I'm setting it as a 36-inch window and a 3'6" hallway, so there's 3 inches on either side of play, and that was guiding our window placement down below. So if I go to the elevation view, this window up here was centered on this window down here, and so that was giving us this edge here. a lot of parameters, and then I think the right edge of that, let me try and remember. Yeah, I think the right edge, because it was scooched over before, was aligned with this. Which, you know, I'm going to want to use a more standard window width. This is 9 foot and change, so we'll probably use a 9-foot system. That's going to give us either 2 4.5 foot panels, which is too large for a single sliding door with some of the more standard units we use, or we could do a set of French doors and 2 side lights. We could do 1 door. And so I'm just trying to imagine what's going to be best here. I do want to propose a patio out back. And so if that's the case, probably putting a door towards the center here is going to be the best. I think a door right here feels a little cramped in terms of, like, you've got a door right there for the mudroom, turning the corner and going out the hall, even though it might make sense for this to be like a common thoroughfare. I think having it in this middle pane here is going to be the most practical. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just set 9 feet off of this edge. And that gets us like close enough to that alignment in the front that most people probably would not even look at. Let's take these out. I want to see what it looks like with a window system. Glass, generic. Nine feet. Duplicate this. Call it generic. I'm gonna call the door package, have the maximum spacing be 3 feet, or 3'6". So I know it'll break it up into 3 panels. Yeah, let's get the height on this. We're at the top of slab, which is good. Height, we'll keep it the height top of slab, and then we'll go top offset. We were doing 8 foot. So that's the door package. I'll unpin this bottom one and then select that panel and unpin the panel and see if I've got a door that fits in there. I should have a full glaze door. Take off the push bars. I thought I could take off these handles too, or change the handles. I know we can at least change the handles. It's tubular. And then obviously change the color of the door. Before we do that, or let's just do that. So we're going to change the glass type. These are things that I have to go on my main model and fix also. Glass. Whenever I say main model, I'm talking about my template file. Glazing. There's way too many glazings in here, but I know this is the main one we use. Stainless steel is good. Metal storefront. So the storefront, it should be okay. I think the problem is that my actual storefront material is, changed. So unless we just keep that, we'll keep that and we'll change the door. I try and keep storefront material all the same so that whenever you want to change it from one color to the next, it changes it everywhere. But we'll just change this one to the door trim since I know that's consistent with all the other door trims in the project. So the black. And then we could do the same thing. If all the trim color is going to change, it is all selected as this wood trim black door. So, can I change the swing on this? No, that's okay. We'll keep it like that for now, but that way we know we've got a 9 foot package in here with a door, 2 side lights. A lot of things can fit in that dimension, so we know that it's very flexible in terms of design. This looks like it's snapped to one side for what reason, I'm not sure. So it changed on me. I think simply because it was close to it. Disallow join, bring that back in. Double check. Okay, 9 feet, so that's good. Man, it always wants to snap, and it can end up messing you up. I'm gonna disallow the other side also. Okay, so let's see if that changes anything. This, just hopping around here, attached to the top of this roof. If I can select it, I can't. That was this wall we placed down, just attached to the underside of our roof there. So this is what I wanted to see. Our full height glass there, and whether or not it makes sense for it to be that high. This was matching our sort of window height. Just pull this view downstairs. We have a 7-foot door there, and then we have an 8-foot door here. And it almost seems like it's competing a little bit with the height. But I know we have 8-foot cased opening here. So that's 96 by 84 would be the one down from there. That just feels too low. I think it's going to pull everything like down with it if we change window height. Yeah, let's just keep it where it was. It just feels like it's gonna like bring everything and enclose all the spaces too much. It's already feeling a little bit like segmented, which was intentional, but I think keeping that up high is just the right move for us. So, but that feels good. I mean, that is clearly a nice door package that you can open and get outside. For some reason, I know that exterior doors, they should actually swing on packages like that out, because they have the gaskets. They have options for that now. So I think I would actually just want to propose that we use that option, so it's not swinging into our space. And the threshold doesn't have to be so significant there. Anyway, that looks good, feels good. I've only got a couple minutes longer that I'm going to run this through here. But let's just run through and try and make some final like window placements. This is the window. It basically, the left edge on the exterior aligns with the one downstairs, and it's close enough to our 3-foot spacing, wherever that's going to be. If you have mullions, it's going to break up nicely. It's right there. It's where it needs to be. The next window over from that should fall within the bedroom area there. This one we were spacing on the laundry room area here, which I think feels nice now. We'll do the stackable here. We'll have a countertop that runs across here. If it makes sense and it's cleaner to expand this room a little bit so it's equal window spacing here, and just a single door that opens to allow the person to get in there, it might make more sense so that you can run a countertop all the way across. I'll just show you what I'm talking about, since I'll probably want to put it in my plans. Counter adjustable. We'll just place it down on the level 2. Okay, rotate it. And this one, similar to the kitchen one downstairs, these units are actually 3 feet deep. So if you wanted all your cabinetry to be consistent, it's not untypical, it's not atypical for these counter depths to be the full depth of the washer dryer unit. Especially because a lot of times these are protruding off the wall for the dryer vent. But anyway, let's just see what this would look like or feel if this was a door instead of the bifold to get you in there. And then what's my spacing here? It's that 1 foot 1 and change, so I'm just going to take a line here and mirror it over that window arrangement. Let's see how much room that gives us in there, if it works to have a single door into that utility room, which I think it does. Again, I mean, I would rather propose it like this, and in this case, I don't think having the extra deep countertops is necessary. It's just going to make the room feel a lot smaller than it needs to. It's okay for this to protrude out and have a filler panel pillar, panel, single, adjustable. Yes, place it down. We'll put this at 3 feet. Three feet is good for the washer dryer. Just for whatever reason, we are going to specify the in-wall dryer vent detail that is basically a panel that goes in the wall that accepts the dryer vent so that you can push this as flush as possible back to the wall. But you still need some play there, and so planning for 3 feet is always the right thing to do there. Another thing to think about, similar to what I discussed in a different episode, or maybe on this, about the kitchen doors, drawers pulling out or into things. Washer dryers typically require an inch around the perimeters and the sides. Sometimes you'll want to go a little bit bigger than that, like we're in a situation here where you can flip the door on most dryers, but you know, is this going to make sense actually for this unit to be on this side? So you can walk in, leave this door open, do your activities, and walk out without the door swing, or having the risk of the door swing knocking you. That's why I like to show most doors that are not utilized all the time as like closed. So to do that, you just select the door, go into that swing angle, and like shut it. That looks like enough workspace in here. We've got 2 feet of space in front of the unit. I mean, that should be good. But we'll see. We can always mirror this arrangement. I'm not too concerned about that right now. This panel is going up to 8 feet. So I'm going to put a ceiling in there later. And then we'll have some cabinets there. I guess I'll put the ceiling in there now. Sketch ceiling. We'll do it at level 2 ceiling height. And I'm just going to put it in these 2 spaces for now, because we're going to want to loft as many spaces as we can with the vaulted ceiling. But let's see how that's starting to look. So this was our view downstairs. And if we just pan this up, the bedroom, walk forward a little bit into our hallway, and now walk forward again, and we should be in our beautiful laundry room. And I do think it's a bit intrusive to walk in and have this like right in your face here. So let's just swap that. I know it's going to be better received. We should be able to mirror it over the window arrangement since we made that symmetrical. Without copying it. Go back into that view, check it out. Yeah, I mean, that feels much better. This one, we'll just keep white in here. Duplicate that, call it white, and change it from the wood trim color to our cabinet white. Okay, that way we can do a couple uppers above there above the washer dryer to fill that space. We can do some lower cabinets along here. And I mean, it's going to be a pretty nice space to do laundry with that view to the backyard. If you do have kids, you know, It's always important to be able to see into the backyard. So even thinking about like the kitchen view to the backyard, the laundry room view to the backyard, it's where you end up doing a lot of the work in spaces like that. So that's just helpful. It's important. I haven't even been in our like master bedroom or primary. So this was how it's starting to look, and we're gonna pause the video in a couple minutes here, but I'll just share my thoughts here because I know I'll want to take a couple renderings in this space. Again, we have the vaulted ceiling, which part of the reason why the primary is like off to one side or the other is so that we can utilize these ceiling heights. So if utilities like HVAC had to come into this space, you can service it from the wall, meaning if our ceiling heights are 8 feet through the corridor or some of these other spaces, you can do the supply vents in the wall servicing here. Or what we actually like to do is propose a drop ceiling system for any of these vaulted ceiling spaces, so contractors can run their utilities below the ceiling joists and rafters. But anyway, what we were going to propose for this is options to either expand the ensuite out into this area. These windows aren't necessary here. Just to remind myself, I'm going to remove them, or actually I will just move them to the other side. These are casements with no trim. Yeah, and we will select those, pick a new host, and I know I'm going to want something on this side, so I'll put them over here for now. And I mean, it's already making me think. We've got those windows downstairs, but we're not going to get in alignment with those. We'll probably only get in alignment with one side or the other. Go to that view. Or neither. We might be able to put them centered in the space there. It would shift it to one side, which maybe is okay. But anyway, yeah, just closing remarks on the primary bedroom space here. It was intended to be flexible so that you can add more walk-in closets. You can expand the ensuite area. I think it works as an efficient ensuite with the throne or the toilet in its separate kind of closet, which is decently sized, and the double vanity and large shower to span like the full length of the vanity would probably be a built-in with zero threshold. So unless you had a client that really wanted an extra large ensuite, that should work, but you also have the option of utilizing all this extra area. And so this is where it comes into play, the priorities of your client. You can have someone that's fine with a smaller ensuite but wants all this extra space to put sort of a workout area, or just a day bed, or second sleeping area, or not a day bed but a couple of chairs and a reading nook with some bookshelves and cases and things like that. It's a lot of space to do all these various activities, or the second walk-in closet. So sort of the concept for this home was that it can be flexible in all these ways, and I think that works out really well in our favor. And I was mentioning in previous episodes that this jet in here, this nook that's created by the exterior, we ran full height, which is going to give a very kind of extravagant entryway feature, but it also creates kind of a unique separation for the interior of the space in that primary bedroom area. I always tell my clients that there's opportunities like that are great for distinguishing spaces, meaning anytime there's sort of a unique architectural feature, I think it's a good opportunity to explore how it can distinguish a space or make it unique. So I'm just remembering I wanted to put in a wall here, and then we'll include this here. This is the load-bearing wall that runs through the entire house, and I thought, this is a fine-sized master bedroom as it is, but put a cased opening here, which will just help with our spans a little bit, so it doesn't have to be so long, but also help it feel like a separate space, so that if it were a workout area or any other type of space you wanted to use it as, it would feel like its own distinguished space. So I'm just going to throw this in after I save and take a sip of coffee. My last sip of coffee, which is very fitting, and we already have a cased opening selected. It's going to be taller, so we can do the 96, and then let's see how big we want to go. 60, 72 by 96. We'll center this on the space, and then we'll jump back in there, see how it looks, and then we'll conclude. So, I mean, that kind of feels nice. In our kitchen, this wall I want to extend to the underside of the ceiling, so let's do that real quick. Cut through our model this way, we'll extend our model that way, select the wall, attach it to the underside of that for now, and then jump back in our perspective view. I mean, I think that helps distinguish the space. Again, I think walking in, through this entry door here, let's just put ourselves in that position. Basically right here. Lower us to eye height. I mean, that feels like a nice space already, especially with the vaulted ceilings, so I'm not sold on the window being above the headboard there, and we can always explore rotating this. Ideally, I would want it to be rotated so the slope ceiling is kind of sloping away from you. It makes a little more sense in terms of the bed location, especially adjacent to this wall opening now. But I wanted to see how this felt through here. This nook, I imagine doing like a floor to ceiling shelves. That feels good. I like this extra space in the primary bedroom. So we'll leave it there for now. For anyone who is listening to this either live or post-production, hopefully these sessions are helpful. If you are an architect or architect in training or a student, that's what these sessions are intended for, is just to see how these workflows work. There's a lot of back and forward that happens in design sessions like this. I'd be happy to discuss with you how this works in terms of being a solo entrepreneur or working for a company. I've got all these experiences, so I can share my perspectives and my preferences. So here's where we left off. There's already things I'm seeing that can maybe be changed. One is like the door into that mudroom space. Does it make sense for it to just be aligned with that wall? Here, and then we can do a closet here, so all these storage units can kind of go away. The bench can be in this location. It would be nice to just have a dedicated storage closet in that area. So that's something to think about. But there's a lot of things to think about, right? So that is, like I was mentioning, something that if you've been watching these videos, you have probably seen there's a lot of things to consider, and you kind of toggle a lot from floor plan to elevation to 3D views, and that's where we're at. So to wrap up, I mean, I kind of just gave the wrap up, but I will say that we are probably 85% of the way there in terms of design on this. There's definitely some lighting that I want to get into the first floor to finish up some of those renderings for the kitchen space, the hallway spaces, and then just planning that animation path. I'll probably be on again tomorrow, so if you're listening and want to come back, not sure what time, so if you, I believe, click the bell or sign up for emails, it should alert you when I'm going to come live to do these sessions. But tomorrow we are going to start exporting some content, sheeting up our drawings. I'll probably finalize some of the different furniture layouts that we wanted to do in off screen, so that you don't have to sit and watch me do different furniture layouts. But that is something in the presentation that I want to show both in floor plan, 3D views like axonometrics, and renderings. So if you're familiar with a lot of the rendering tools that are out there right now, especially using AI to create animations or keyframing renderings to create animations, that's how we do a lot of our presentation content. And I know using Kling is one of the AI video generators that does a great job at kind of like flipping furniture and tossing it around and giving you those different options in the space if you have two different furniture options. So that's definitely something I wanted to play with. So between tomorrow and the next day, the goal is to have a design package wrapped up so that we can send to the client, and we'll have this very versatile, configurable home that's flexible with a lot of customization options in it, for our client to choose all the options, and it should be good. So thanks for tuning in. If you did, if you're watching this post-production, there's lots of other videos like this that showcase how an architect designs and the different processes and workflows in the design. So feel free to check those out. Always feel free to drop me a line. Let me know if these are helpful or if you want to see something different. And thanks for stopping by. I'll see you next time.